Welcome to our channel. Today, we will learn about a special method of catching tuna in Hawaii, the longline fishing technique. This is an effective and popular technique for catching large and quality tuna. Let's explore step by step, from preparing the equipment to how to cast and retrieve the line correctly. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any interesting videos. Let's get started. Abundant marine resources, including aquatic plants such as seaweed and edible algae and animals such as crustaceans and shellfish, provided the primary protein component of the Hawaiian diet because of the limited supply of other protein foods such as pig, dog, chicken, and wild birds. The ancient Hawaiians quickly became familiar with the various species of fish frequenting the waters adjacent to their shores, closely studying their habits and feeding grounds and adopting gathering methods suited to their particular characteristics. Although a constant, fishing took place both inshore and offshore. Many fishing techniques were used, each demanding different equipment and procedures. The principal open-sea marine exploitation practices at the time of European contact included hand catching, snaring, spearing, basket trapping, netting, hook and line fishing, and poisoning. Inshore fishing was probably the most productive and reliable source of seafood for the ancient Hawaiians, yielding fish, echinoderms, crustaceans, mollusks, and edible seaweed. Women and children participated in this type of fishing, although canoe fishing and even several of the reef methods were restricted to men. Several types of fish, including crabs, lobsters, eels, sea urchins, shellfish, octopi, and shrimp, could be caught by hand along the rocky coasts in shallow coral reef areas and shoreline pools or by divers in underwater caves. Eels and lobsters could be caught by snaring with a noose hung from a pole. When an eel stuck its head outside its hole to get at the bait on the other side of the noose was drawn tight and the eel ensnared and raised to the surface. Using hardwood spears about 6 feet long, underwater divers stood on the bottom of the shore and impaled fish as they swam by. Spears were used above water for turtles, octopi, and fish that were mesmerized by torches at night in shallow water. Women used basket traps to catch shrimp and fish. Woven of vines or branches and filled with bait, these baskets could be lowered to the shallow bottom. Women then dove down and brought the filled traps to the surface. More sophisticated baskets had conical woven entries, making it impossible for the fish to find their way out. Several types of gill nets were used, according to the type of fish to be caught and the type of habitat. The three techniques of fishing with these involved setting up a stationary net in which fish became entangled as they swam about, driving the fish into a stationary net, or moving the net to encircle the fish. Seine nets were also used in shallow water and trapped fish by impounding them within a complete circle formed by the net or between the net and the shoreline. Bag nets were made into enclosed purses with one open end in which bait attracted fish. It was therefore his duty to choose pupils to whom to transmit his expertise so the cycle could continue. His assistants helped in fishing beyond the reef, an activity that needed to be done in concert. Often one member of the party stayed on shore to watch for the schools of fish, whose location he signaled to the fishermen. The po'ola wire could be commanded to accompany the high chief for a sporting fishing expedition. He could be ordered to fish for the chief, or he could go whenever he wanted. Several kinds of line fishing from canoes were practiced. The primary type was trolling for tunas with an unbarbed trolling hook, or lure. At other times a one-piece bone or shell hook was attached to a line, sometimes 600 feet long, weighted at the bottom with a stone sinker. Hooks were fastened to the ends of short sticks standing out at right angles along. Longlines can be used to capture fish in surface waters, pelagic, as well as bottom-living species, demersal. Longlining sets a length of line, and from this come branch lines carrying baited hooks. Large longlines used offshore can be tens of kilometers long and carry thousands of hooks. Smaller inshore vessels use shorter, lighter lines with roughly less than 1,000 hooks. Tuna and swordfish, pelagic, and halibut and cod, demersal. Longlining environmental summary. Habitat damage. Longlines do not drag along the seabed, so are not associated with damage to marine habitat. Bycatch of vulnerable species. Longlines can unintentionally catch vulnerable species, and high seas fisheries have been particularly associated with catching endangered seabirds, sharks and sea turtles. Discards. Longlines can be associated with capture of non-target fish and other marine life. Seabird bycatch on longline hooks can be reduced by the use of weighted lines, colored bird scaring streamers and fishing at night. Hook shape adaptations, such as a circle shape instead of J-shaped, have helped to reduce shark and sea turtle bycatch in some fisheries. Most longline tuna is caught during the day at depths of 100 to 400 meters, below the mixed layer in the intermediate layer, down to and below the thermocline. Swordfish can also be caught during the day between 100 and 400 meters. Most bycatch is caught in the mixed layer, or in the top 100 meters. In addition to the existing gear and equipment on your boat, you will need 3 kilograms, 6 pounds, lead weights with snaps for each basket, the amount of line between 2 floats, 1 additional float with float line and snap for each basket, and some additional mainline. This will cost about $3,000 USD for every 1,000 hooks that you set, but this is a one-time only cost. Set your longline so that all baited hooks are fishing deeper than 100 meters, out of the mixed layer, and out of reach of most bycatch. This will decrease bycatch and could increase target catch and profits. Even if long lines are set deep to target tuna and day swimming swordfish, many baited hooks still end up in the mixed layer where most bycatch occurs. It takes time to handle unwanted or protected species appropriately. Baits that are taken by bycatch are not available for target fish. Gear is lost when sharks bite off hooks. There is the potential for fishermen to be injured when handling some unwanted. Species, and it is harmful to the ecosystem, wasteful. The deep setting technique uses the boat's existing gear with some slight modifications. To set the entire line deep, 100 meters, 328 feet or 55 fa, long sections of the main line are used as float line. In other words, the fishing portion of the main line is suspended by long sections of mainline, weighted down by lead weights at one end and suspended by floats on normal float lines at the other. These sections of mainline remain continuous with the fishing portion of the mainline, and are set and hauled in exactly the same way as the fishing portion of the mainline. To avoid tangles between the lead weights of two adjoining baskets, floats are set in pairs between baskets separated by 50 meters of blank mainline. The shape of the line is controlled by using the line setter, boat speed, and line setting timer. The line setter speed is adjusted so that the main line is paid out at a rate faster than the boat is traveling so that there will be sag in the line. The ratio of the boat speed to the line setter speed determines how much sag will be in the line. This ratio is called the sagging ratio, or SR. To get sag and to set your line deep, a line setter must be used. In the new design, enough extra line is paid out to account for the normal sag plus the desired depth plus the 50 meters blank section between floats. The line setting timer is used to control the depth of the lead weights as well as the distance between branch lines. The timer is set so that each beep indicates that 50 meters has been paid out. This is the normal distance between branch lines and between floats and branch lines. To make sure that the lead weights reach a depth of 100 meters, the weights are thrown 2 beeps after the first float is thrown. Then all of the baited hooks are thrown in the normal fashion at 50 meters intervals, and then a second lead weight is thrown. 2 more beeps after the second lead weight another float is thrown. A 50 meters section of blank mainline is then let out to keep the 2 lead weights from tangling and then another float is thrown. This process is repeated over and over until all of the line has been set. Surface longline fishing gear consists of a 5 to 45 mile long main line suspended near the surface by buoys. Fishermen tether approximately 25 baited hooks per mile to the main line by short sections of line called gangions. The gear is then left to float independent of the vessel for 10 to 12 hours, during which time it interacts with a variety of target and non-target marine animals. National Marine Fisheries Service, NMFS, 2010, page 44. Surface longlines were first introduced to the Gulf of Mexico at a commercial scale in the 1950s. Foreign fishing fleets and Increasingly, U.S. fishermen used the gear to target yellowfin tuna and Western Atlantic bluefin tuna until regulations came into effect in 1983 that prohibited directed fishing for bluefin in the Gulf of Mexico. Bycatch, Brown, and Restrepo, 2009, page 1-2. This act aimed to protect depleted Western Atlantic bluefin tuna in their only known spawning area, the Gulf of Mexico. Rucker et al. 2007, page 266. The U.S. excludes foreign fishing vessels from fishing within U.S. waters of the Gulf of Mexico. However, U.S. commercial surface longline vessels continue to target yellowfin tuna and swordfish in the Gulf. These vessels fish surface longlines averaging 30 miles long that contain hundreds of baited hooks. These lines sit unattended for 10 to 12 hours, during which time they injure and kill a variety of non-target marine life. Bycatch et al. 2009, page 2-3. Government Observer Program data from 2007 through 2009 indicates that 50.1% of the Gulf surface longline catch was discarded, with 65% these discards thrown back dead. The National Marine Fisheries Service, NMFS, has instituted a number of measures to reduce incidental catching and killing of non-target marine animals, otherwise known as bycatch, by Gulf surface longlines. These include areas closed to fishing, prohibition on the use of live bait, and surface longline gear modifications, such as mandatory circle hooks, to prevent catching non-target ocean wildlife. Bycatch et al. 2009, page 2. Despite past management actions, the U.S. Gulf of Mexico surface longline fleet continues to capture, injure and kill significant numbers of severely depleted non-target marine animals, such as Western Atlantic bluefin tuna, blue marlin and leatherback sea turtles. Swordfish buoy gear and green sticks have been identified by scientific research and anecdotal reports from commercial fishermen as two promising alternatives to surface longlines in the Gulf. These highly selective fishing gears reduce incidental catch of non-target species, while preserving the fisherman's access to target fish species. Bays and Kerstetter, 2010, NMFS, 2010. These alternative gears could more reliably decrease the incidental catching and killing of non-target marine animals than modifying surface longline gear to reduce incidental catch. Green stick fishing rigs consist of one or more 35 to 45 foot long fiberglass poles that are mounted to the stern of the boat deck. The green stick tows a main line behind the vessel with no more than 10 hooks attached to it. Each hook is connected independently to the main line so that the fisherman can selectively retrieve them. Hooks are baited with plastic squid and trolled across the surface, mimicking flying fish skipping across the water. At the end of the main line is a fish-shaped weight, known as a bird, that holds the main line taut while the boat is moving. When a fish is hooked, its corresponding line breaks away from the main line and is retrieved by the fisherman. Fishermen use green sticks to target yellowfin, big eye, albacore, skipjack and bluefin tuna. The Japanese introduced the gear to Hawaii in the 1980s, and since then it has been adapted for use in mainland U.S. commercial and recreational tuna fisheries in New England, North Carolina, South Carolina and the Gulf of Mexico. Preliminary research by NMFS, as well as anecdotal reports and logbook data from commercial fishermen using the gear, highlight the green stick's effectiveness at catching tunas. According to logbook data from 2000 to 2002, the total green stick catch was 81.9% yellowfin tuna. The ability to reel in each fish separately allows the fisherman to bring them to the boat immediately after they are hooked. This quick retrieval allows fishermen to bring fresher tuna to market, while significantly reducing the killing of non-target marine animals, like bluefin tuna, because the fish are the hook for minutes rather than hours on longlines. The National Marine Fisheries Service is testing a modified version of the circle hooks mandated for use by surface longline fishermen to reduce the incidental catch of spawning Western Atlantic bluefin tuna by Gulf surface longlines. The diameter of the metal wire used to make these experimental hooks is smaller than a conventional circle hook. The pressure created by struggling large fish like bluefin tuna is supposed to straighten these weak hooks and allow the fish to escape. The ability of weak hooks to release large bluefin spawners alive and in good condition is questionable. The physiological stress created by the high surface water temperatures where surface longlines are used, spawning activities and inadequate